husband set up a hidden camera to catch a thief, but instead saw me with my affair. My husband's hidden camera landed me and my AP in prison, and now my life is completely ruined. I write this with the heaviest heart, but at the end of the day, I have to be grateful for being alive to still write this. My name is Sandra Jones, and I am 36 years old. Please, do not age shame me. I have seen several comments on people's posts where they are shamed for cheating at a certain age. I believe that she is just a number, and a person has no control over what changes in their marriage. Yes, I'm married, and I've been married for the longest time, LOL. I've been married for exactly 10 years. 10 years of ups and downs, and a lot of controversies. And finally now, my dirty laundry has been aired. My husband is 37 years old. He's just 1 year older than me, and his name is Vincent. Vincent is a dietitian and also a businessman. We live in Georgia, and we were supposed to move very soon, but after these recent events, I doubt the possibility of that happening anytime soon. Vincent and I didn't go to the same college, and we weren't childhood friends either. Our story is not the usual friends to lovers story, LOL. I met him in my final year of college, and what even made me see him that day was the fact that he bashed my car with his car. Well, it wasn't really my car, to be honest. A friend of mine had lent me his car after teaching me how to drive for months, so it incidentally happened that I ended up bashing the car on the same day. It really broke my heart when that happened, because I didn't have any excuse to give to my friend. The friend in question was my crush at that time, and we almost started dating. So, let's just say I had a boyfriend before meeting Vincent. I got really angry when I saw the state of my car, so I got out and told him he just had to pay for my car. Vincent was very calm, and even though I approached him in a very rude way, he didn't bother. He actually agreed to fix the car, and he apologized. Even the eyewitnesses around were surprised, because to be honest, most people believed that it was my fault. Because he handled the situation calmly, I didn't resist when he asked for my phone number. He never contacted me for a long time, so I forgot about our encounter and started dating my friend who had lent me the car. Vincent contacted me months into my relationship with my friend, and I ghosted him because I was still in a relationship. I only contacted him back the moment my relationship ended, and I was single again. He was also single, so we linked up and started dating. To be honest, we broke up a handful of times. Well, I broke up with him a handful of times. I just didn't like the fact that he was always working. By then, he didn't have a decent job yet. He was still early on in his career as a dietitian, and he had a lot of side jobs. Most of our issues were financial because I just believed that my man should be able to provide for me steadily. The problems got so bad that one day, Vincent, a guy, broke up with me and told me that he could no longer keep up with my vain lifestyle. The thing is, I was really hurt. I have never been dumped before, so when he dumped me, he became more desirable to me. I know that sounds corny, but that's just how I felt. I've also heard a handful of girls saying the same thing, so at least I'm not the only one. I was really angry when he broke up with me, so I tried my best to start dating him again. Also, I noticed that he was progressing in his career and doing well for himself. He never contacted me back after our breakup for almost 2 years. I had to be the one who made love before we got back together. I didn't get back with him all because of money. Vincent was actually a very nice guy, and I knew that. That's why I didn't relent, and made sure we got back together. Since we'd already been through tough times together, we got married 1 year later because we pretty much knew each other already. Plus, the year we spent together after all those breakups was stress-free and very comforting. So that's the background story to our marriage, guys. We went through a lot, but found our way back to each other, and we believed that we had a strong base already. The first years of our marriage were beautiful and stress-free. Vincent and I were like soulmates, and if you asked me about my marriage then, I would have told you that it was almost perfect. We agreed not to have any kids for the first 5 years of our marriage. It was a mutual agreement that we actually kept, and it was the best decision we made. We both knew that children must only come when we were ready and stable. I opted to get a housewife, but Vincent wasn't having it at all. He told me that for us to have a balanced marriage, we just had to work. The both of us had to be involved in something for the narrative to work. I didn't like that idea at all because I'd always dreamed about having a stress-free married life with no need to work. That is why it was important for me to marry a man that was somewhat financially stable. But when Vincent gave me reasons why working was important, I changed my mindset and looked for a job. I actually wanted my marriage with Vincent to work because he was very supportive and never really gave me reasons to doubt him. And Vincent was a great provider in our marriage. I will be the worst person to omit that part. He made sure I never lacked, and he always took the best care of me. As a result of all these things, I made sure to let my wishes of being a housewife be done so I could bring something to the table. 5 years after our marriage, just like we planned, we decided to have children. We started trying, and in less than a month, I got pregnant. Surprisingly, I was pregnant with twins, and it was the best and safest news for me at the same time. I said that because I was scared of what it would be like to be a mother to 2 kids at once. After 5 years of preparation, I thought I would be dating a single child. So it was sad news and happy news to discover I was having 2 kids at once. I'd never been a mother before, so obviously the nerves started to kick in. If you're wondering how I got pregnant with twins, Vincent had a twin, but his twin died at birth. His family has twin genetics, if that makes sense, and most of his relatives either have a twin child or have twin parents. Vincent, on the other hand, was elated, and his joy knew no bounds. But in the midst of our excitement after finding out about the pregnancy, our first huge marital problem started to surface. Vincent and I had the biggest argument just months after finding out about our unborn children. I come from a traditional family, and my parents didn't want me to check the genders before birth. But Vincent felt like it was important that we knew the genders so we could prepare. He also felt like I was being unfair to him because he had a twin who died, so he wants to be involved in the life of his children from the onset. I didn't want to listen to him because I felt like my parents were right, and it was important for him to respect my beliefs. My mother told me checking the children's gender is a modern act that she didn't like. I tried to explain this to Vincent, but it only angered him more. He told me that he deserved to make decisions in his children's life and that it was wrong for me to take my parents' advice over his. Before going on, I would like to ask you guys this simple question. Do you think I was wrong for doing what I did? Was I wrong to even make that a topic? Please let me know, because that was a very big case in our marriage. It was so bad that my parents stopped coming to see me just because Vincent made it clear that he had to check the kid's gender. When I told them that Vincent was adamant, they told me they would never step foot into his house again because he was not interested in listening to them. I only got to see them whenever I went to visit. Vincent, on the other hand, did not care that my parents had taken that decision. According to him, he had the right to make decisions in his home. That statement got me upset, and that's how we started arguing. Even after all my pleas, he told me he just had to check the kid's gender. He was the one laying for the medical bills and providing for the house, and he made that clear to me. He also told me to pick either my parents or him. He was so angry that I had no choice but to say yes, and I finally checked the gender with him. Even though I gave in eventually, I was still very angry with him. It just didn't sit well with me that he forced me to do it against my parents' wishes. And he even refused to apologize to his parents after everything. I was angry, and that made our marriage suffer. Anytime he tried to take me out of doing something for me, I would refuse and give him the condition of going to apologize to my parents. Vincent felt like he deserved the apology because he was disrespected, and so he refused. Yes, he actually refused. I married an alpha male, to say the least. Even though he can be kind and easygoing sometimes, Vincent never fails to be unmoved when he feels like he is not in the wrong. So that's it, guys. I didn't have my entire pregnancy having back and forths with Vincent. I accept that I made him angry a lot of times, but he never reacted because I was closer to my due date. After giving birth to my twins, girls, my marriage suffered more. I just struggled as a mother entirely and on all levels. It was all just too much for me. Taking care of 2 children at once without the help of my mother was hard. Yes, my mother still refused to come to the house unless I went to see her. And for a new mother, moving around was difficult for me. Vincent did invite his aunt to stay with me and also hired a nanny, but I just felt like my mother would have been the best person. But he refused to apologize. 1 year after the birth of my children, I suffered with confidence. My body changed a lot, and so did my mindset. It was hard to resume work because everything has gotten bigger around my body. Vincent always tried to be supportive, but after everything that happened with my parents, I always snapped at him. I accused him of ruining the childbirth experience for me. I don't regret that part at all. If he had just swallowed his pride and apologized, my mother would have taken me through childbirth stress-free. So I blamed my insecurities on him. Now, you might wonder, how did all of this lead to me cheating? Well, it did play a hard part. 2 years after the birth of my children, I struggled to readjust at my old workplace, so Vincent looked for a job for me elsewhere. That was 2 years ago. I worked there for 2 months before getting tired. I asked a friend of mine to look for a better job for me, and she did. It was that new job that brought another problem entirely. I was around a lot of male colleagues, and they were all flirtatious. At first, I hated it, but then I noticed that I started to entertain the flirts. I was becoming a flirt myself with each passing day, and it was getting worse every time. I had a nanny that picked up my daughters after each day at the nursery, so I literally had all the time in the world to do everything I wanted to do. Vincent noticed the late-night calls really fast, and he confronted me about it. When he noticed that I got defensive while trying to explain what happened, he followed me to work one day. It was at work that he discovered that most of my colleagues were flirts. If you're wondering how he knew this, well, it was because I never told them I was married. Even though my name has a Mrs. in front of it, I never spoke of Vincent to anyone. So when he followed me to work, none of them cared to behave themselves. That's how Vincent was able to find out the truth. When he found out the truth, he made me stop working that same day. When I tried to complain, he asked me to choose between flirting and staying married. Obviously, I chose my marriage. Vincent still found it hard to stop talking about the incident. He couldn't believe that I had been entertaining the inappropriate comments even though I was married. When I offered to look for another job, he made it clear that he would not entertain it. According to him, I needed to stay home and take care of the kids, and if I needed to find a job, it had to be one that had a professional environment and didn't leave me as a prey to horny men. He made it clear that he would not have me disrespect him while he worked his hands off every day providing for me and our children. Even though I hated the thought of staying at home, I agreed to everything he said so that peace could reign. Vincent appreciated my cooperation and spoiled me with gifts almost every day. He was earning good, and his side businesses were bringing a lot of profit. Anytime he earned extra, he never ceased to get me gifts. But even with all this extra effort, I was too smitten by a particular colleague of mine that kept in touch with me even after I left work. He kept contacting me and asking to see me. He was significantly younger than me and had that bad boy aesthetic. He was also a very intentional person and made it clear that he had interest in me even after finding out I was married with kids. He never ceased to tell me I was beautiful and sexy. And a woman that struggled with her confidence after childbirth, hearing those words from someone other than my husband felt refreshing. I felt like Vincent could be lying when he called me beautiful just because he didn't want to hurt my feelings, but for someone else to say that to me meant it was true, because they had nothing to lose if they hurt my feelings. Vincent always took care of me and made sure I never lacked, but we all know how cheating works, right? No matter how satisfied you are in your relationship, that new shiny prospect will always seem like the best decision you could make. The same thing happened to me, and I believed that the young guy showering me with praises could make me happier than my own husband already did. I fell for it. His name is Dylan. Dylan was relentless, and finally one day, I went on a date with him. I left the kids with my mother at her house and went to see Dylan. After the date, he offered to take me to his house. I refused because I felt like we were going too fast. Even though I had long fallen for him, I still had little common sense in me, and it was my common sense that told me not to sleep with him that early. But my common sense only lasted 3 dates. On the 4th date, I made the stupid decision of finally following him to his house. We got drunk, and yes, I slept with him. I cheated on my husband sexually for the first time since our engagement and marriage. It was the worst decision of my life, but we all know the thing about bad decisions, right? You keep making them no matter what. Even though you can tell that you're doing the wrong thing, your common sense just seems to be very far from you, and you end up doing the craziest things. Things with Dylan moved fast and dangerously wrong. I did things I shouldn't have ever done with him. The worst part is that I advanced from going to his place to bringing him into our matrimonial home. I had no shake at that point, and I was just doing all the stupid things you could possibly think about. But I had no idea that the man I had been bringing home was a thief. Yes, you read that right. Dryland was so smart that you wouldn't guess he could do something so outrageous. He came into my life with so much speed that I started trusting him faster than I should have probably trusted him. It was too fast, and that made me not realize how vile he was. Whenever he stole, he was smart enough not to steal anything I owned. It was always Vincent's things that went missing. I remember one day, Vincent sat me down and told me a lot of his watches, shoes, and even clothes were missing. I always told him to check twice, and that there could be a possibility that he was mistaken. Vincent made it clear that he had been taking note of things for a while, and was 100% sure that he wasn't mistaken. My friend's brain didn't reason far enough for Dylan, and I just assumed that Vincent had so many things that he lost count of where he kept them. When Vincent noticed that I wasn't taking him seriously, he made no move to explain further. I noticed that he stopped complaining to me, so I just assumed that he had realized he was mistaken or took care of the situation. I also made no move to ask him further questions because it was an uncomfortable topic for me. But I had no idea that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. By not caring about the situation, I didn't see what was coming. Vincent was smart, and he thought about things intensely. Now that I replay everything that happened in my head, I suspect that a party of his actually blamed me for what happened. Yes, I feel that I was also a suspect because do you know what Vincent did? Vincent actually set up a hidden camera in the house in order to find out the 30 that were taking his things. Yes, and I had absolutely no idea that he was up to something so crazy. I actually believed that he forgot all about the situation, but no. He was just 3 steps ahead of Dylan, and none of us had an idea of it. I was busy sneaking Dylan into the house, loving up with him and making food for him in my husband's home shamelessly. Dylan and I were going strong, and I believed I was smart enough to hide our relationship until Vincent called me one day to have a chat. That day, he was back from work early and told me to come over. I was in Dylan's place, so I had to rush back. When I got to the house, I didn't see Vincent immediately. I panicked and searched for Vincent. When I saw him and asked why he called me over, he grabbed my hand and showed me a video. In the video, I could be seen cuddling Dylan in our living room and in the guest room. Another thing that was visible was the both of us kissing in one of the footage. I'm the footage. I went to take something from our bedroom, and then Dylan followed me and hugged me from behind. That's how we started kissing. I was shocked to watch the video, and even more shocked because the video was from almost a month before the present day. So I understood the fact that Vincent had already watched the video for so long. He then handed me divorce papers, slipped my wedding ring off my fingers, and pushed me towards the couch. I was so shocked that I didn't struggle with him. He showed me another video where Dylan could be seen stealing. I was shocked. So shocked I couldn't speak. I will not be respecting the horrible things Vincent said to me before kicking me out of the house after making me sign the papers. He made me give him Dylan's address, and then he closed the door. 2 days later, he got Dylan arrested because there was evidence. I was too shocked to do anything because everything happened extremely fast. He also arrested me as an accomplice, and I was only released after paying a fine. Even though I tried to prove that I wasn't aware Dylan was a thief, he didn't care. I spent a night in prison before my parents paid off my fine. I ghosted Dylan after everything because he stole so much that I'm still shook. Vincent and I are now in a custody battle in court. My reputation is absolutely ruined. Update. Hi Reddit, I'm back again. This time I have the final update with me. It's been 2 years since the last update, right? I'm sorry it took this long. My life got ruined and I have battles with the worst depression. So, I got divorced and Vincent refused to forgive me. I also lost the custody battle in court. Yes, I lost it. He used footage of me bringing Dylan into the house and neglecting our daughters as proof that I'm not responsible enough to take care of them. He also proved that I solely depended on my mother to refuse our daughters. He even went as far as using my financial position to mock me. He also told the court that his aunt and 2 trusted nannies would be with our girls all the time, so they were better off with him. The court gave him full custody at the end of the day and left me depressed. Barely 1 year after our divorce, Vincent started dating again, and now he has a girlfriend that has moved into his house. Another woman is taking care of my daughters and living the life I'm supposed to live. I cannot believe that I slept in prison, and now I have to deal with all this. I want my old life back. This new reality is miserable.